I don't think AI is going to replace product marketing, but it will replace what we do. The things that matter to the company, the impact, all these things have changed. So I actually think because of AI, PMMs are actually more important than ever. We will be in this era of AI where everything is generated by AI. So there's so much content that is generated by AI, but AI doesn't really know how to tell a story or like tell a differentiated value as part of your story or your product story. And I think this is where product marketing becomes more critical than ever. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sassy Moms. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Anya. And today we are having an episode all about product marketing management and AI. A previous episode was about product management and AI. Please go and look at this episode if you're curious where product management will end up within their career. But today we are going to talk about product marketing management. Wendy, we have a lot of questions, and in general, everyone thinks that AI soon will replace product marketing management. Are you searching for a new career right now? Tell me honestly.
You know, it's interesting. I feel like it's a conversation that almost everybody's having, right? Like I was having dinner with a friend, and he's in IT, right? He's like, well, like, I'm going to be replaced by AI in the next like 5 years. And I'm like, well, like time to level up. Like there are so many skills that I don't think AI can replace. And I think that is across so many different careers, not just product marketing, product management. But my personal view is I don't think AI is going to replace product marketing, but it will replace what we do. I think PMMs, what we do even 5 years ago and now and in the future has changed like so much, right? The things that matter to the company, the impact, all these things have changed. So I actually think because of AI, PMMs are actually more important than ever, or the tasks that PMM do. And what I mean by that is we will be in this era of AI where everything is generated by AI. So there's so much content that is generated by AI, but AI doesn't really know how to tell a story or like tell a differentiated value as part of your story or your product story. And I think this is where product marketing becomes more critical than ever. Because obviously AI, we all know this. I've used ChatGPT and it's like they can create a lot of content, but it really can't tell a story that resonates with a customer. And what I mean like resonate with a customer is like there's so much that goes into it, like customer research, taking their how they describe your product into your messaging and all of that, right? Like I don't think AI does a really good job on doing that. And I think this is where PMM comes in, is shaping that positioning, messaging, and storytelling that actually cuts through the noise. That will become more and more and more important.
So can I learn from your perspective, and maybe you can share some of the examples from your work where, let's say, ChatGPT failed, or like Copilot, whatever, any other like chat tools, because like it sounds a little bit interesting of what you're telling, because as you were mentioning this, I'm thinking, well, what's the problem? I will just upload my user research notes. ChatGPT will analyze them, find like this unique angle, and provide me with a story.
Yeah.
So why do you contradict to it?
Yeah, well, I think it's the current challenge is AI produces good content. I wouldn't call it great. And why I think it sometimes is not great is like unless you know what great looks like, and unless you know what like your competitive differentiator are, unless you know all these things, you will accept kind of the subpar content that AI is going to give you. And you'll be like, oh, that's good enough, right? Like you can submit all these things that you want. But without that lens on actually like validating and like actually really like testing it out and all these other things that a human can do, it's gonna sound like really generic, or it's gonna gloss over like key points, or it's gonna miss the complete messaging, right? Like you need a human to really validate. And that's why I think AI can take a lot of that grunt work that humans like 5 years ago have to do. Like I remember myself like having to go through like 20 interviews and like trying to like summarize everything and trying to like figure it out, trying to figure out the messaging, like what is the consistent theme? Like AI is doing that for me. And I need to validate it. And I think that's where it's like, well, like I'm like, AI, you just missed this whole point, like this whole
Mm-hmm.
sentence that the customer is saying. Like he might be
Mm-hmm.
saying like XYZ words, but his emotions are telling something else, right? It won't be able to take that into consideration into your messaging. And I think that's where PMM is going to really shine. It's like, okay, take all these raw data. AI can like synthesize some stuff for you, but like, what about the emotions? Like, what about the sentiment? Like, that's where great stories are. Great stories like solicit emotions, right? And I think that's where like PMM can shine. And I think that can really distinguish like what a great PMM is and like maybe a good or subpar PMM. That's at least how I see it.
Okay. And, do you think that potentially product managers can do it instead of product
Yeah,
marketing managers?
yeah, and I think it's like if a product manager, and I mentioned this to you as well, right? It's like I enjoy working with you because I feel like you know like how to tell a story. There's a lot of PMs that I gotta say it's like very technical, right? I'm like I
Mm-hmm.
still don't understand the value, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
like where the PMM like has that lens, it's like okay, what is actually valuable? What is a good story to tell?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, this just falls flat, right? Like having that, I think it's where PMs can shine too is being able to take that technical and turn that to a story that resonates with the customer. Like, I don't know how many PMs I work with, and they tell me all these technical things. I'm like, you just lost me. Like, I have no idea, like, what you're talking about. And it's funny enough because I've been on so many calls this week, and it's like, dumb it down for me a little more. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
it's like you said all these things, and I'm like, words that make sense, but like all of them together did not. So it's like things like that, right? And I think you need to put on the lens on like what good output looks like. Does all these things like help? Because in my personal experiences, if you don't feed AI a good structure, data points, all these things, it kind of like garbage in, garbage out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you sound exactly the same as any of your competitors. And I've seen so many, even like copies, right? Like when we get back things and it's like, well, you kind of know it's AI generated. It's just kind of like meh. It doesn't really help. That's why in my personal experience, like leveraging AI, it's really helpful by synthesizing the data, but then you have
Mm-hmm.
on the other end, like, okay, what is a good story? Like, how do you want to tell it? Like all these other things that matter. At least how,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, so I totally agree with you. And basically, on what you're telling right now is that AI just maybe helps PMMs to get some, like, to be more productive and maybe faster in terms of their like content creation and like maybe strategy. But still, AI is not possible to like kind of understand the core message and is not good at like yeah storytelling and the skill that like abstract skills, right, that allow you abstract thinking that allow you to take this data and convert into something new and innovative.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no, definitely.
yeah, perfect. So we sorted it out. So it looks like storytelling skills will become more effective like never before. Now, where else does AI help you today?
Mhm.
And where maybe AI actually, on the other hand, doesn't help you and your team and becomes actually maybe an obstacle?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking through this, right? Like where has it been helpful for me? And I jotted down some stuff, right? Like there are I think three things where I see AI is great at.
Hmm.
Um, Creating content, obviously, I think that's a no-brainer, but you have to give it enough guardrails.
Hmm.
For me, it's like, I think just looking back even 2 or 3 years ago, I would be swamped just writing email copies, webinar synopsis, like
Hmm.
all these other things, right? Like, I don't do that anymore. I don't ever write like full emails or webinar synopsis from scratch anymore. But what I do is like, I give it the structure, like who's the target audience, who's the persona, like what is the pain point, like what are the key things I really want to structure, right? Like I wouldn't expect AI to come up with the strategy or even the hook. I think the hook
Hmm.
is really important, right? Like you have to feed it the angle and then kind of refine it, given back to ensure it actually resonates with the persona you're trying to target and like what is the purpose of that webinar too, right?
Hmm.
Because what I do is I sometimes like like I will see some of the, okay, I want to do this and that. Like if, and I see the output. Like if I don't give it enough structure, it's just like it's not going to drive the attendance or like
Mm-hmm.
the people, right? And I think that's where AI is helpful, but you really need to
Mm-hmm.
give it guardrails and the
Mm-hmm.
structure because it's kind of like you need to give it structure, data points, like your brand, like how do you want to be seen in the market,
Mm-hmm.
your unique kind of point of view, or else your competitor is using the same chat GPT or the same Gen AI is going to create the
Mm-hmm.
same kind of webinar content. I think that's one area. The other thing I loved using it as was like kind of like a brainstorming
Mm-hmm.
tool. Because it's like sometimes you just run out of juice. Like I'm just gonna be honest. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a Friday. I am kind of
I know.
and it's like I can't.
Especially balancing motherhood and career.
No, like it's like brainstorming and I love it. It's like sometimes is like I want to have this idea, but I'm kind of like having these roadblocks,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, and then it's like you're just like, hey, like this idea, but I want like five more things on this particular things and
Mm-hmm.
like kind of go down this rabbit hole. It's like, and then it's even a good learning tool. It's like, hey, I want to learn about this particular subject. And it's given me so many opportunities to like even think outside the box. It's like maybe it's what I know it's only 20% of it, right? So it's just giving me more opportunities to kind of brainstorm ideas based on like what's giving me. And I think that's super helpful. And then the other aspect is more like scalability. So I from like for a campaign, I remember the days where like I have to draft up this whole campaign, like here's the key things, whatever I want to do, and then I would have to like spin out like so many different things, right? Like emails, landing pages, PowerPoint decks, and like social media posts and like guiding the team, right? But now it's like I create one master doc. Here's all the talking points. Here's the point of view. Here's everything. Feed it to ChatGPT. Here's how I want like the emails to look like, the nurturing emails, like landing pages, PowerPoint decks,
Mm-hmm.
what's the structure, social media like posts. It's everything stemmed from that one doc. And I think that's super helpful. Like I do this for like even future launches. It's like here's the pain, here's the audience, like here's if you give it
Mm-hmm.
a structure, and then if you give it an output for that structure, it's actually super great. Like it at least gives
Mm-hmm.
you like 80% there.
Cool. Actually, the question, so do you have like the structure like documented somewhere so that you can reuse it every time?
Yeah, so this is actually you brought up a good point. So this is an
Mm-hmm.
area that I'm more leaning towards, like even going into 2026. It's like
Mm-hmm.
having more of a so here's a couple areas where I'm looking at. It's like building kind of templates on multiple things that are just taking up a lot of time. Because I
Mm-hmm.
really want like even my team, right? Like the people that I work with, product marketing, is like focus on the strategy. I feel like sometimes, especially for PMMs, is we get pulled into so many different things. Like product management is like, hey, like my feature launch that we just did, it's like doesn't have enough adoption. And it's like, hey, we need to run these things, right? And then we get multiple requests from our maybe like the CEO or whatever it is because one competitor is coming up a lot and the go-to-market is asking a lot of support for there. And it's like there's so many requests that come into product marketing and I think it's like the execution is, or what I should say is like the impact gets diluted because we can't focus on things and we just get pulled into so many different directions. I
Mm-hmm.
personally feel it and I personally still feel it. Um, so I think where AI can help is like really taking that strategy and then replicating it. And what I mean by that is like, I feel PMMs going into the new year should really focus on the fundamentals, like the foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Like create your core strategy pieces. Like focus your time on making a great positioning documentation. Has everything of your products. How do you position against your competitors? What are your key capabilities? Like what is your positioning statements? Like all those things. And then that will feed basically anything like how you should enable the sales team to talk about it. How should you enable even like discovery questions on like the pain for that product and like the personas, like that's another area that you need to focus on. Like once you identify your ICP and your personas, like that's already huge. Like this is how you can enable your sales team. Like that's your target audience. These are the pain. So I think focusing on more of that like strategy aspect would really help. And then after you kind of create that strategic pillar, building blocks, what I would call it's like kind of create templates from your strategy. Um, One example I can give you is like, for example, is like feature launch. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
feature launch has so many different pieces of information. I can just list a few. It's like the blog, in our message, like what is it called?
Mm-hmm.
Like the what's new, kind of like short synopsis of what the feature is, sales enablement. And then within sales enablement, there's like multiple things, like different decks you have to update. And then I don't know how many variations of things that we need to create.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like so much busy work. But like, let's just imagine you take this foundational block, has everything that you need in a feature value message that you want to communicate to
Mm-hmm.
the audience. And then you can create a template or a prompt that guides you on these various outputs, right? Like a blog post, launch emails, FAQs, like social posts, and all these things, right? But they're all pulled from that foundational doc that the PMM is it's
Mm-hmm.
spending your time on and strategizing. Like just imagine the output because you can like constantly update that template, that prompt to make sure it's more aligned to where you want it. And that's the area that I'm investing in. It's like
Mm-hmm.
making sure, okay, like we have a foundational block and then kind of like making changes to those prompts to make sure it's aligned to the output, right? I think that's
Yeah.
one area I'm actively using AI on as well.
So after like understanding all of this and like again you mentioning that hey if you give ChatGPT like right structure, right like blocks, um potentially like you can do it, right? As a manager, like you can develop the strategy, you can do the templates. Wouldn't it mean that in reality now having like AI station will be able to have like less PMMs as a head count versus how many they needed before? Because I do remember the times when like, you know, you had 100 different materials to make and like we sometimes even involved like PMs. Wouldn't it be just the job of a PMM is to find this unique angle, to understand the story, understand like ICP, add all of this to a document, and then kind of ChatGPT can do the rest, meaning you can save so much time in terms of like productivity and like content generation. So maybe now one PMM can support four products instead of like one PMM being able to support only one before.
I think definitely. I
Okay.
think like I would assume that at least that's how I want my even my very small team to think is
Mm-hmm.
like what is the impact? Like where do you think your impact could be, right? Like and for me is like that strategic level. Like once you
Mm-hmm.
determine what those strategic things are, the content output shouldn't be the ones that is holding you back. Because I felt like in a time where it's like a couple years ago, those
Yeah.
content are what's holding you back from being
Yeah.
able to be more strategic. Now I'm having these conversations. It's like, hey, your value messaging is like it's not really hitting it. But I didn't have that bandwidth before, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like I have to review like so many different collateral.
Yeah.
Like it's just time consuming. Now it's like another area where I'm like looking at it's even like, okay, can I leverage AI to be that audit, like at least a first audit? Like,
Mm-hmm.
could I give it input? It's like, hey, these are the feedback that I want you to at least get a first pass on. Like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be having to review every single document.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like review this as if you were me, and then based on these things that I usually pick up on, and then feed it, that Chat GPT or whatever Gen AI, and it's like at least a first pass. So at least it picked up all the like the little things or things that I would usually pick up on. And then it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now I can actually spend the time to like not focus on the small details, but like, okay, is it actually resonating with me as a reader? And things like that that will actually take that messaging to the next level. I think that's where AI can really help. It's taking all those like time that is just time suck. Like I just remember
Mm-hmm.
a time where like you and I worked together like 5 years ago where
Yeah.
it's crazy like how much content we have to review, right? And like as you're scaling your team, it's like so hard to be in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes like these are the things that matter because like I would pick up on things where I'm like, hey, like why are we talking about this feature in a way that it's like it's not resonating with the persona? Like who is the target audience you're talking to, right? I think these are the things where I think even a PMM leader or a PMM manager can really pick up on that you might not have the bandwidth to before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's interesting. So, Wendy, then tell us how, if I'm a product marketing manager and I work in the company, and let's say there are five other product marketing managers, and now after listening to this conversation, I kind of feel, ooh, I need to somehow stand out because during the next round of layoffs, like we might not need such a huge team. What would you recommend to this people? Like, what would you recommend to me? Like, how can I stand out? Where can I be really great so that I can pursue my career, as well as maybe to just recent grads? Like, how
Mhm.
can they get into this strategic role where no one wants to hire them in the era of AI?
Well, I think there's like like three critical skills I see. One is get really good at synthesizing those strategic documentation. Like that's the core of like what a part of marketing is, right? Like it's enabling go to market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like get good at like how do you create a positioning doc? How do you create a messaging doc? How do you solidify the ICPs and personas that resonate with
Mm-hmm.
your customers, right? And what is that strategic doc for like even feature launches? Like have those like strategic pieces really honed in. Because I think those will help you in building a great story, like for your products or how you want to communicate to the audience. I think that's really critical. And the other aspect is like you need to kind of learn to distinguish like what is good versus great. Because I think AI has kind of blurred that line a little bit, at least, because you might not like understand what like great content looks like. And you just accept kind of what ChatGPT is giving you. And it's like you need to have that lens. It's like, okay, is that content produced line up with all the strategic pieces? And then you need to be that audit and creator to just make sure. And then you also have, and I think the third one is probably the most important, is like you need to figure out like where does PMM have the most impact?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to figure out that lens from a business objective, not just from a
Mm-hmm.
PM objective. Is like there are so many areas in product marketing that you can have an impact, but what is the business impact? Like, is your company seeing more and more competitors? So
Mm-hmm.
should you be in a position to have that insight to bring to your go-to-market so they can win against those competitors? And if they are maybe not creating as much pipeline in their business. They
Mm-hmm.
may be generating a lot of leads, which means that your campaigns may be working, your messaging is working, but your sales team have no idea how to convert them. So is that the area that you need to focus on? So I think just pinpointing where your business is needing more of that PMM support and then you can like have measurable impact. I think that's where you can shine as a PMM, regardless of AI. I think you really have to because I think PMM is interesting in a way where you can kind of pick and choose where you really want to focus on because there's so many areas. Like there are like I want to say just like primarily three, right? Like campaign, marketing support, sales enablement, and like feature launch, right? Like those are the three biggest buckets. But where does it have the biggest impact? Like I would
Mm-hmm.
say some of the things that you do should be aligned to your business, not just whatever you want to do or whatever you
Mm-hmm.
enjoy.
Okay. That's great. So, another question that I had was more about like where AI maybe does not do good. Like where can I as product manager fail if I heavily rely on AI? I mean, one of the aspects you kind of addressed where a content can be the same, so there
Mhm.
really will not be a differentiator, so I don't have to like I shouldn't be relying on it as much. Is there anywhere else where you saw maybe like you can provide examples from your recent work? Yeah.
I think for me, the where it has failed a lot, it's really the like trusting it too much. Like for example, like I think there were some examples where one of my team member had like feeded a bunch of our case studies, and we were trying to pinpoint a quote or like an area, right? And then, But ChatGPT basically created a net new quote. And I'm like, this looks really funky. Like I think it's like even if you feed it data, it can like be false positive in a lot of different ways. And if you don't question the output, you might just add that, testimonial into that deck and it's like, okay, you didn't even second guess it. Um,
Hmm.
so I think it's like you can't be too trusting of the data output either because I've done like I'll feed it a bunch of surveys and like testimonials trying to find some themes, and I just haven't find that to be extremely useful. And then it's like I find it I when I spend the time and actually diagnose the data and things like that, I find a lot more insight
Hmm.
from those. And I think that's where it might fail. Because like if I just put in ChatGPT, they may give me a chart and like here's the core themes, and it's like it's not taking into consideration a lot of different things, and they would take it at face value. Like reading win-loss notes, things like that. It's just like I find it more helpful if I just take the time to like actually review it and then things like that to
Hmm.
insights. And that's another area. I think those are the primary two that I've seen like really failed. It's content. Um, and then the kind of the analysis, data analysis part. Like I think it can take you far, like as far as,
Hmm.
but it's like the sentiments, things like that, it just doesn't pick up.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I do feel this temptation myself because let's say I did like 5 interviews and I gathered a lot of data. And honestly, I'm at a point where I'm just like, I just want to put it into AI
No, I
and
do
I
that all the
wanted to
time.
summarize. But I remember like when I did a lot of like qualitative type of interviews, which are not super structured, you try to find this insights. The best methodology for me to actually understand those was when I just created in Excel, like I put like keywords kind of here and there. And then honestly, like no matter how great I was at remembering what customers said in the interview, that those key insights and those not tangible, abstract ideas always came from just doing this analysis, and it was super like unexpected. I
Yeah.
always remember it. Temptation is there. I just want to,
Yeah.
copy, put it into Copilot,
Yeah.
and just be done with it.
Yeah. And then I guess another pet peeve of mine is like I think we over reliant on AI too is like I know we record our, even customer interview calls and things like that, and we try to put
Yeah.
GPT and then like trying to analyze it. I personally would try to do that as well. But what I do, I'm still old school. Like I'll still jot down like the key things that the even
Yeah.
customer has said. At least that will give the context for, AI to be like really hone in on these things. I'm like, these were the exact words that he said or she said. And it's like, I really
No, that's
want to
amazing
leverage
too.
that for the messaging, right?
Yeah.
That's what I usually do. I'm like super old school because I still jot down like major things. And if I'm at a trade show, I will actually like pen and pencil, like trying to write it down because I think that's really key because like these are the messaging and words that your customer is using that you should
Hmm.
leverage, right? So those are the things I would try to feed at least ChatGPT or whatever it is just to make it more, I guess, useful. Because like if you just feed it a video recording of it, it's like it gives you like junk. Seriously. I'm like, that's not the main point he said.
Wendy, let's just like sum up everything we
Yeah.
said right now, and maybe you can give your personal outlook on what is the future of product marketing management with AI tools being smarter, better, and more capable?
Yeah.
What do you think, like where we are heading with product marketing management and where your career do you think will end up being?
Yeah, I think if you haven't explored yet, and I strongly encourage anyone to kind of explore just like creating custom chat
Hmm.
GPT or agents. I definitely encourage everyone to just explore it and see how that works, right? Because I think there's so many different situations where it can take that like mundane work that you've been doing
Hmm.
and like systemize it. Like one of my biggest pain point for me was just reviewing things, right? And now it's like I've tried to at least like structure where I'm reviewing a lot. It's like, okay, like if you're asking me to review like a blog or whatever it is, like I have my positioning statement that I fed it. And it's like, can you review it at least at the first glance? Like, is it actually meeting these things? And based on all these previous documents that I reviewed, these are the feedback that I have created. at least like provide that first thing. So
Mm-hmm.
there's so many custom GPTs that you can like make it more scalable. And I'm currently working on a GPT, like a custom one, just to be like, hey, I want to feed it this feature launch document and I want it to have these XYZ outputs, right? Like I'm still
Mm-hmm.
finessing it. It's not perfect yet, but it's at least getting us like maybe 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just exploring these things to make your work more impactful, because like where you can spend
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time now is you can scale your team a lot faster. Like if I hire a new person now, I can probably have her and him working on different feature launches because he or
Mm-hmm.
she just needs to work on that main document. And then, they can have a lot of these outputs, right? So they're not
Mm-hmm.
being bogged down and they can focus on more of the strategic initiatives, right? Like that's where the impact is. So I think that's where it's going. To be honest, like I think in the future, I feel like more and more of these like areas would be like I'm actually surprised there isn't any like custom GPT or like agents that are enabling all sorts of work across the board. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's an area that you need to focus on. And then in terms of like future, where I'm just talking about like 10, 20 years from now. I don't know. I feel like it might be like what you said, like maybe a mixture of roles, like product management, product marketing, kind of like a merger of that, where PMs might be getting better and better at telling a story,
Mm-hmm.
marketing and all that, and maybe product marketing will gain more and more insight into like maybe the market and the product and like kind of influence product decisions and things like that. I feel like maybe that role may be blended.
Mm-hmm.
Especially smaller companies. Yeah, that's where I'm seeing it.
Yeah, so can you comment? Like, I just inputted like the same question to ChatGPT, and let's see what they said here.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
actually
so
intrigued.
yeah, so ChatGPT said so. Like first of all, those product marketing managers who think about copy plus lunch will be replaced because the role evolves, and the new essential PMM skills are prompt-driven market research analysis. A little bit questionable, but okay. Pricing
Okay.
for AI workloads or outcomes, because indeed, like we so far don't really know the outcome pricing yet very well. Some
What
companies
does that
started
even
doing
mean?
it. Huh?
What does that even mean? Like,
So
right?
what it means is that today, like AI, like you know how almost every company does pricing for their AI agents
Uh,
based on the tokens, but we really can't yet figure out like outcome-driven pricing, how to price like actually outcome. Let's say let's
yeah,
price
yeah,
not by tokens but by ticket resolution. But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very like risky right now because what if your AI doesn't resolve tickets? Then you're just like wasting money. But okay, then behavioral positioning, narrative design, as you mentioned, understanding AI capabilities and limitations, rapid experimentation via AI modeling, which actually is interesting. I don't know what it means, but it sounds like maybe like launching like tests, A/B tests, maybe for certain
Yeah,
content.
well, that's another thing. Like I think like I'm just thinking like the strategic pieces, right? Like I mentioned like
Mm-hmm.
personas and like all these things. Like one of the things I really want to explore is even like, hey, create this persona. This is how I
Mm-hmm.
think our ideal persona is. And here are the pains, where maybe their objections may be. Like imagine like the ability to actually ask your sales team to like interact with this persona
Mm-hmm.
and then they can get better at like talking with them and like handling the objections and things like that, right? So I think there's so much opportunities if you invest strategically on a few key things that you can really influence the business. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I strongly believe that like PMMs nowadays, like you should not be doing all these like time consuming tasks, and if you are, you need to figure out a way like leveraging
Yeah.
to like make it more scalable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, for sure. And then one of the things, interesting skills is ethical and responsible AI messaging.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but we can
What does that
ask
mean?
ChatGPT, what does it mean? Re sorry, like ethical and responsible. Ethical and okay. Let's see what it replies to us. Um, Okay, so it's responsible messages because AI products introduce new risks. So actually makes sense, right? How they can multiply
Mhm.
errors, and we talked about it. New expectations and new responsibilities around how companies communicate their capabilities.
Yep,
So I
yep.
guess it's more around ensuring to be accurate, transparent, not misleading, everything which we all are already guilty a little bit about, but I
Yes.
guess AI allows us to amplify on this over exaggeration of the things.
Yeah, well, I think one of the most dangerous thing is of AI is really garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And I think that is a critical thing that a PMM should really put a lens on. You can't just like trust everything that it's
Hmm.
doing, right? And then I think if I'm understanding
Yeah.
what ChatGPT is saying, it's also like we people know what AI is and like what their outcome is and all these other stuff now. So it's like,
Mm.
well, at least like to be expected. So like how do we communicate the capabilities? People are asking a
Yeah.
lot more questions than like I want to say a
Hmm.
year ago, right? We can't just like gloss over the technology behind it, the things that
Hmm.
they have more intelligent questions to really try to safeguard themselves as
Hmm.
well. So as a PMM, like as we're launching more and more AI features even in our platform and things like that, I think that is one area where like I think PMM needs to learn a little bit more about, like even to be able to I guess like be able to answer some of these concerns and questions more
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we have to understand, like you mentioned that everyone knows how AI work. I actually like a little bit disagree here. We in software do know because we are part of it, but actually many companies don't know that, hey, AI cannot be 100% accurate. AI usually gives the confidence level. AI gives like it's just can't even work within systems which require 100% accuracy. So we really can't market like that because
Yes.
not every person understand. And I guess this is where like this ethics come in, saying, hey, we do have these outcomes. You can get like faster resolutions, right? But we can't 100% guarantee those.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
99% better. Okay, well, I think, is there anything else that you would like to cover during this wonderful session? I hope,
You know,
yeah.
I think it's just to kind of conclude is I don't believe AI will replace PMM, but I think what it would replace is all these like kind of repetitive work that's just keeping us
Yeah.
from doing what we do best, right? I think it's creating that clarity in the market, telling a story that resonates with your customer and using the language
Hmm.
that they would use. And I think people in product marketing that will really shine in 2026 are the ones that are actively using AI. So if you're not using AI, definitely check it out. And then they're the ones that would try to use it to amplify their impact. I think the key is like understanding and measuring the impacts you're driving, or else you're going to be mixed into the fold with everything else.
Absolutely. Well, do we have sassy struggles for today?
I this week has actually been pretty good. I haven't had too much issues beyond just dealing with the fall sickness all around. Yeah, fall and spring is really tough because it's like you're trying to save your sick days because your kids are sick and all these other stuff, but just trying to fight that. Yeah, how about you?
Um, well, I guess my one of the biggest, it's not like a challenge, but just on a topic I think we discussed a little bit about how to trust other people in order to get some free time for yourself. And I guess some of the things that I was struggling with for the past couple of weeks is like, onboarding a new nanny
Yeah,
and
yeah.
onboarding someone who can take care of your child.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's really really hard, and not only in terms of the tasks, but also in terms of selecting a person who will be able to work with your child the way you kind of expect the person to
Mm.
work. because I have tried many nannies, trust me. And I think I like if someone is searching for a nanny, I have some tips. But I was also curious to know how you went and did it. How did you let your child just go to a daycare and just, let daycare manage their sleep, manage their schedule, manage everything, especially because your child would not have a, dedicated care. Um,
Yeah, I am actually curious, like what are the challenges you're having?
well, so I mean, I think my biggest challenge was to, in general, like find a right person. And like I think in general, like I have very specific things how I would like a person to like behave with my child.
Mm.
And usually every person has their own standards, even like grandparents. Like the first thing is like, for example, like as simple as, hey, during a wake window, I would like to have for my child to have a combination of, let's say, physical activity like walking, standing, and also like some free, like some independent play or some time where, a child can just maybe just sit and play calmly. But it's very hard to like explain to a person how this should be executed. For
Got
example,
it.
one of the
Got it.
nanny that we had like always wanted to be very close and near my child. And despite of multiple attempts to say, okay, like just try to combine, like spend like 30 minutes where you just let him crawl, you let him explore, you let him just play independently, maybe in his like a play area, and you just like sit and drink coffee. We really want you to do this. Like, don't even worry about just like ensure you are watching him. But that has been a challenge. So to me, it's very hard to like delegate like this type of things.
Got it.
Because, like people are either too independent, or if I say to a person, let's say, okay, hey, right now it's like a calm time, he needs to come before the bedtime. Someone like starts more like a nanny starts like forcing it, meaning instead of like creating an environment for play, and then he starts like taking him into the labs and like really like forcing him to relax even though he might not yet be ready. So I don't know, just the subtleties are so hard. And this is where it's hard for me because I do believe that like psychological like attachment and secure attachment is also part how baby interacts with like
Yeah.
nannies or everyone. Um, I honestly can't believe giving my child to a daycare where who knows what is going to happen there.
I think so for me, I don't think I had these criteria.
Mm,
So like I think I'm trying to recall. I don't think I had. I think there was like a few questions, obviously, like, oh, like what did they do? Like, so for daycare, like what I do
mm-hmm,
enjoy about daycare is like there is a clear structure.
mm-hmm,
Certain times, this is what they do. This is like there's free time and things like that. So I think I just kind of trusted the daycare. Like I didn't have any of
mm-hmm.
these like instructions. And then I think if I try to recall, like the twins didn't even nap during the nap time, like the first few months. And it was like a little bit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would like fall asleep like during the car ride back home and things
Yeah,
like
yeah, they
that.
were
I think there was
yeah.
like a period where I was like so stressed.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So you
but
were
I just
okay.
let
It's
it
not just me.
I just let it kind of play out because I'm like, I just can't control it.
Yeah.
I know it would just drive me crazy if I had to
Yeah.
know like every single detail of
Mm-hmm.
how their day went.
Yeah.
And I just like had like progress updates. So I think I was more just like trusting. And then
Mm-hmm.
what I did was like I'm more believing their philosophy of because there's different like philosophies of like childcare and whatever it is. Like there's Montessori, there's like I think there's a play-based one, I forgot the name of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like there's different kinds, and I think I picked one that kind of follow a similar structure as my
Mm-hmm.
philosophy. And
Mm-hmm.
for my myself, was like some of the criteria was just like, oh, it's like flexible. It's still open during like Christmas because there's some that are not.
Yeah.
Like things like that, I think took priority, and it's like the closeness to the home, like pick up, drop off. I know was a pain. So for me, it's like I didn't have as much of the structure that you had. I was more just finding a place that would work, to be honest.
Okay, so can you tell me? I mean, I know I'm a little bit crazy, and I definitely am like a little bit maybe more particular around like how I want things to be,
Yes.
like what energy a person should have
Yes. Yes.
around my child. And honestly, in terms of these things, I can tell you that I would also like daycare more just because I understand when there is like one person to four child, there is no time for them to be really like, around my child and really like telling him what to do, which I struggle when people start telling him what to do. So in this sense, like I kind of also would say I like daycare more. But tell me
Yeah.
about experience like with naps. So did your twins like adjust eventually? It looks like they just had
To be
one
honest,
nap or
I'm like trying to remember.
yeah, yeah, okay.
Because like I
You
feel like
mentioned
the first
stressful and
yeah,
things
I
like
remember
that.
the first few months was, and I feel like they probably adjusted maybe after a
Okay.
few more months. Because like
Mm-hmm.
I remember like obviously their bedtime is back to normal, so I'm sure
Yeah.
they did. I just don't remember like when or why or how that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I see.
yeah, I seriously don't. But then I think one relatable thing with you, it's like I also have my parents or even like my mother-in-law or father-in-law like take care of my kid. And I
Yeah.
think at one point I just kind of like let go, right? Like it's like I can't govern every single details of it. And it was just like I think some of the core things was like, oh, like they need to, don't watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't use like digital products. Like that was my main thing. And then just like, okay, like these are the meals that is sort of prepared, like make sure they at least have a balanced meal. And then if like you could like take them to a park. Like I think those were the common ones I had.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I was like, I don't see it. I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think the key is to not see it. And like my partner asks me, okay, so actually like we were discussing if we want like a nanny or daycare. And honestly, I was so there was a spot which appeared once he was like 10 months old and I'm like, honestly, I want a daycare. And he's like strongly disagrees with daycare. He just doesn't like it. He's like, no. And he told me that I'm crazy because I'm so particular and I'm so like so like anxious parent basically. And
Yeah.
he's like, I don't understand. And he's like, why do you want to take care? Did you see like their like facilities? They're not the best. I'm like, yeah. And like he's like, imagine sleep. Like he will not be sleeping there. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay because I can't see it. I can't see it. If I don't see it, I'm kind of like also like better because when I see this is what gets me anxious.
Yeah, and I think the challenge is like you're also working from home, so your nanny is like right there to
Exactly.
see the things that she's doing that doesn't sit right with you, and I think that's challenging. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
challenging because like obviously I'm just thinking myself, right? Like when I see my husband doing things that it's not according to how I would, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, then I would say something right.
I know. Okay, so Wendy, would you agree that if your husband is taking care of your child, it's best for you to do a uh,
Yeah, no, and
self,
that's why I'm like I think the biggest lesson that I have learned, I think I mentioned this earlier too, as a mom, is that you gotta let go.
Yeah, yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
let
Let
go.
go or like leave
Let
or
go.
leave, like just to take care of yourself,
No, you gotta
Do
let
a
go because like
self-care.
there's so many friends of mine that are just like, well, like I can't go out during this time and time because I need to like put my kid to sleep and all these
Yeah,
things. I'm sure a lot of moms struggle with that. And I did for my first one too. I'm like, oh, I only have this window because I need to
yeah,
breastfeed him and then I need to put him in the shower and then he only
yeah.
sleeps like because I'm there. I'm like, but you're holding yourself back. You're not
Mm-hmm.
giving your other partner the opportunity to be able to do that because you
Yeah.
are putting that guidance or the guardrail. I know it's harder than I'm saying it because as a person looking back, I'm like, I wish I'd done more of that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling my friends all of that, right? But then at the same time, they're like, well, like they won't sleep good and all these things, like
Yeah.
so much hesitations. I'm like, just forget it, just go. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Just
I
let it
think
go and everything will be all right.
yeah, like I think it's like we're holding our kid and even like our partner back if we're not letting them try at least. It's okay if they
Mm-hmm.
fail. It's like if they
Yeah.
fail enough times, they're eventually gonna get it. Um, but
I
that's how
like how
scary
you're
enough.
just like a chilled mom here with three kids. You're like, yep. I know it
No,
all.
no, but it's easier said than done for sure. Like I think in the moment I'll be like, no, you should do it this way. He's not gonna sleep.
So tell me, like right now, so you have a kid with who is 8 years old and
Yeah,
two 4 years
five,
old, five, two
five.
5 years
Yeah.
old. So tell me, like, where you still cannot go, cannot let go. Is there any aspect that you cannot let go?
I think it's discipline. I think it's like having
Okay.
a clear set of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I say like, okay, like you need to do XYZ before you can have like digital products or whatever it is, and like
Mm-hmm.
maybe my parents or my husband gives in, then I will have a problem with it because it's like just like there's no consistent discipline. So this is an area that we always have tension because it's like if I don't see it, that I hear from my kids, I'm like, seriously?
Yeah, yeah, we
No.
just discussed. So
Like we
what do
just
you do? Do you send an angry message?
no, it's just more like, hey, like friendly reminder.
And Larry,
Please do not do this ever again. Remember that rule? Because it's like
hey,
I know.
ChatGPT, can you convert my anger into a nice politically correct message for Canadian?
No, I think it's like just more like I know it's easy if you just give in, right? Like I know it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But like I always have to like remind myself too, right? Like I want to give in a lot of times, but I'm like, okay, the consequences of it is like they're gonna have like mixed signals on like these things, and it's gonna be harder to like put that guardrail back. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's long term, like maybe short term gain because it's easy, but like the long term,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna suffer. So I
Yeah.
always try to put that into perspective, and then just like
Yeah.
my reminder, long-term consequences.
You see, like this is like exactly where I also have an issue because, for example, like for now, while he is small, like we don't say really no, and we are instead like because so what I don't want my kids to not like no. And I
Mhm.
think in order to do it, at least right now, while he doesn't understand too much, he does, but it just takes a lot of time. Like I prefer to have like a safe home, and like even if he stays and like he like bangs the, I don't know, the window, I'm okay with that because I know he is not yet like forceful enough to do anything with the window, right? So I'm actually okay with that. But then when I see people coming and like saying to him no and not allowing him to do it, I become very, very like irritated. Like, it's my kid. I tell him he can.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I think like even I think there's a fine balance, right? I remember like my kids like love jumping on like from the sofa down to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Things like that, just being kids, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, like for me, it's like it doesn't really matter. Like they're having
Yeah.
they're not bugging anybody. My sofa, it's a mess. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, but it's like, I think more elderly, they're like, no, I don't jump off, right? And like things like that. So I think it's like these mixed messages
Yeah.
is like confusing for the kid, but it's hard to govern. Like it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't tell every single person that comes over to your house like not to do it. But it's like more like what I do. It's like I'll be like telling my kid afterwards, or even like before. It's like I would prefer that you if you don't do this because there's a lot of people. I think it's like
Yeah.
it's just us, then it's a safer environment. So I kind of
Yeah.
explain it in that context, so it's like not as confusing. Because I think like even like I remember my younger one who's like, well, why couldn't we? Like mom always left.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
like he has these like things, right?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
about like managing like how you manage things at home versus let's say when you go out and you're at a guest house. Obviously at a guest house you
Yeah,
can't do
exactly.
the
Yeah.
like sofa, but maybe at home you can. So I guess you have to like explain to them, okay, at
And
home
exactly.
we're
Exactly,
allowed,
right? Like
at guests maybe they will not like it, so we have to
yeah.
like follow their rules.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
even
it's
like I
hard.
don't love that he's jumping from there, right? But I'm like, hey, like could you save that jump like for outside? Like I it's okay. Like if you do it, this time around, you're trying to like whatever energy that you're trying to get
Yeah.
out, right? Like I think it's like kids just need like a lot of expectations setting. And
Yeah.
like which is like to be honest, like one of my most draining thing as a mom. Like I'm like,
Absolutely.
oh
I mean, same like for my so my child started walking, but he's not yet walking. He just needs like to feel my finger
yeah, yeah.
while he walks. And evenings become crazy because all he wants is just walking, walking, walking nonstop. And I was using ChatGPT in order to understand how to do parenting. And ChatGPT told me I have to explain him and set like times. And even though he's small, he will understand understand. So now every time he cries, which is 500 times a day, say, okay, I know, yes, you want to walk and you're frustrated by this. You want to get what you want, but you can't right now. And I understand. How about you try independent walking? But my time will be with you in the next 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, we're going to walk again. Oh, but it's hard. Like every time it's like
Yes.
hard.
Yeah. And you're trying to be patient while you're,
Yeah.
acknowledging. Yeah. I think that's the draining part. Anyways, well, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you disagree with me on my view of PMM, I'd love to be challenged. So send us a message, or if you think there are like a couple things that I'm not looking into as a PMM on using AI, I would love to hear from you as well, because I would love to see how you're using it. So please comment, please message us, and please like it and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye for now.